Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome to my channel. My name's Colin and today I'm going to show you how to make the Harry Styles J.W. Anderson cardigan. So this stuff. So, first things first.
Time to release.
I don't knit. I don't know why I thought this would be a good idea. I thought that this would be like a fun little project to do because, you know, quarantine is driving me insane. And I haven't knitted in 14 years. I guess I thought this was just gonna be a good idea, and it was not. Because let me tell you, after a week and a half, I have all these, it's not assembled, it's not done, and look at all this. When did I get that? Michael's Haul! Okay, so before you even start, I'm gonna recommend you go to J.W. Anderson's website and you download the instructions and the pattern that this cardigan is based off of. This is extremely helpful. It doesn't give all the instructions that you need. They're kind of vague in some sections, but that's why I'm making this video, to explain, so you can learn from my mistakes and not your own. The first thing you're gonna need are knitting needles, right? So the ones that you're gonna use the most for this project are US size 11, they're 8mm needles. These ones are about 10 inches long, which is like fine for what you're gonna make because these squares are supposed to be 14 by 14 centimeters. Super chunky weighty yarn, which is basically 100 grams per 90 meters in length. That's about 1.11 grams per meter. But anyway, so I'll show you what I got. The Bernat Softy Chunky, and I used that one also for the black. For the orange, I've been using this Wool Ease one, and all this stuff you could find at Michael's. I just was looking for the colors and relative thicknesses and weight of the yarn. For the collar and the cups and everything like that, I got this yarn here. It's like a really thin, lightweight yarn. For green, I actually got like this really thin yarn. You can kind of see compared to the yellow one and the other ones, that this one's like pretty thin. So I actually got 2 balls of this and I've been just doubling it up. On top of that, you're also going to need these thingies. What is this? Yarn needles. And you're gonna need these cute little 5.5mm knitting needles. And then you're also gonna need super duper long 4mm knitting needles. I got these ones with like the string to attach them because you have to do like 128 stitches or something crazy like that, so we'll see. I haven't gotten to that part yet, but let me show you what I have already done. So I started with the back, which I thought would be a good idea. It's hard. It's hard. The instructions say that this is like an easy / intermediate project, and that's a damn lie. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea, but I'm bored and it's quarantine, so here we are. And I am too far in to stop. So for those of you who don't know, Harry Styles recently wore this cardigan and it's kind of been blowing up on TikTok. So I thought, why not try? I'm talented, right? I thought that before I started this project. So this project is probably gonna take me like a total of 6 weeks to complete because I have a life. I'm just kidding. I have a day job and I don't feel like knitting 24/7 because, like I said, I don't knit. All right, so here's what I have so far. So this is the back right now. As you can see here, I kind of followed the pattern, starting with the 2 middle rows and working my way outward. So I started with this one here, then this one, and then I just kind of went like outward from there. I wouldn't really recommend that because I made a ton of mistakes when I was starting. Like you can see, I had this big hole here. This like is all messed up, and like this is just like a totally different stitch pattern than the rest of it. Like this orange line is totally not supposed to be here. But you know, I'm still learning.
You know, over and over again I say, we don't make mistakes, we have happy accidents.
But I would say in the future, I would not start with the 2 middle rows. I would actually start more like here or here, just so that, like, you know, they're kind of off to the side. They're not in the middle of the back, so that not everyone can like clock you when they see how janky it is. for those of you who are looking to start, like there's really no order to start in. I originally started with these two because I was a little intimidated by the houndstooth pattern, but don't be. It's actually not that hard. I would say the green stitch is actually the most difficult one. So I'm gonna start with that. So I'm gonna show you how to do it with this yarn here. Now I'm gonna be using 2 balls at the same time, because as you can see, this yarn is pretty thin and it's definitely not the same thickness as the other yarn. So I'm just gonna double it up. So you're gonna grab 2 ends, 1 from each ball, and you're just gonna treat them as one. So how you start each of the different types of stitches that you need to cast on. So what you're gonna take is you're gonna wanna take about, I'd say like 2 feet, and we're gonna make a slip knot. So slip knot's just like this, you know, you just grab and you fold over like this, you just make like a little loop, and then you're just gonna pull one end through, and you just make a little slip knot. And if you pull tight, but you can still kind of tighten it, which is important because you're gonna take your first knitting needle, just one right now, and you're going to slip it through, and you're going to tighten that. Now you don't want it like super duper tight, you want to be able to like slide it up and down the needle. Now each of these squares is an 18 stitch square. So this counts as the first one. So we already have 1 stitch. So to cast on the rest of them, with your loose end in your left hand, you're gonna hold it like this. You're gonna stick your thumb under. You're gonna slide the needle right past your thumb to kind of make this shape in it. You're going to take the yarn that's still attached to the ball here, you're going to bring it back, forward, around, and you're going to take that loop that's around your thumb and just slide it over and pull. And now you have 2 stitches. Now is your first cast on. So because I am using 2 different strands of yarn to make this stitch, you're gonna count each 2 loops as 1 stitch. So you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. So I have 18 here, and I'm gonna teach you how to do the reverse V-stitch. So this is a 4-row pattern that we're gonna be doing. So row 1 is gonna be different from row 2, which is gonna be different from row 3 and 4. So we'll start with row 1 here. Casting on does not count as a row. This is just gonna be the bottom of the piece. What's gonna happen is that we're gonna build up our row this way. So this is the little tail that we have sticking out from the end when we were casting on. That's gonna be at the bottom of our piece, and we're gonna work upwards. So starting with this, we're just gonna do the first row, which is just the knit stitch. So to start, we're gonna take our right hand with a knitting needle that has nothing on it yet, and we're going to take it and we're gonna slide under the first stitch here, slide under and back so that we catch this first stitch. We're gonna take the yarn that is still attached to the ball, we're gonna bring it back, around and forward. You're gonna hold it, all right? And then you're just gonna slide this right needle down. You're going to catch it. This yarn right here is still attached to the ball. You're gonna catch it, slide it around, and you're just gonna lift off. I don't know if I can do it. Oh God, oh God. All right. And then that's your first stitch. And to tighten this, you can just pull on the yarn that's still attached to the ball. And then you have your first stitch. So you're gonna do that again. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, so you're gonna do that again with the second stitch. You're gonna slide it under with the right knitting needle. You're gonna pull on the yarn that is still attached to the ball. You're gonna bring it back, forward and around, hold it, slide the right knitting needle down, catch that yarn, and lift up. All right, so I just knitted the first row. As you can see, this is down here. This was previously the right knitting needle that I was holding in my right hand here. And now we're gonna turn it around this way so that the yarn still attached to the ball is facing us. And we're gonna start with row 2. Now, looking at the instructions, row 2 is knit 1, that K1B is knit 1 below, and we just repeat that pattern, knit 1 below, knit 1, knit 1 below, until you get to the last 2 stitches, and that's just gonna be knit 2 instead of following this alternating pattern. So what it means to do knit 1 below. So first we're gonna knit 1, actually let me bring this forward. Knit 1, oh God, this is a mess. Okay, so I just finished the first square with the reverse V stitch in green here. Now, I don't know how well you guys can see, but technically this is the right side, the correct side of the stitch here, and this would be considered the incorrect or the wrong side. Now, I like this side better. I just like the way that you have these like little triangle things going across rather than like, I don't know, kind of this like crisscrossy pattern here. So I consider this to be the right side, which is what I've been doing this whole time. So I'm gonna show you guys how to cast on a different color. So the next square in this row is gonna be the red and the black houndstooth pattern. Now, to start with another color, you're not gonna wanna cast off this. You're gonna wanna do rows of however many squares are required. For the front and the back, it's rows of 4 squares each. So this would be the first square. The houndstooth pattern is gonna go above that, and then the next color and the next color above that. And I feel like it's gonna be a lot easier to just continue on with the colors rather than finishing this square, casting off your work, and then just starting another square completely from scratch. I feel like it's a lot easier, and it's gonna be easier to sew it later on to just start knitting the next pattern. So as you probably saw earlier, I was using this little square of paper to kind of measure how big the green square I was making. So I cut this out to be 14 centimeters by 14 centimeters, and I have lines here showing 10, 12, and the 14 centimeters. And that's important because the top row, or the top square of each row that you're making is only gonna be 12 centimeters rather than 14, which is important to know because otherwise this cardigan is already oversized and it's just gonna be huge otherwise. Okay, so we're gonna start casting on the next one. I have my red yarn here, which is gonna be the basis of the houndstooth pattern. So the important thing to note is what side is facing you. So I consider this to be the correct side and this side to be the incorrect side. Now, right now, holding the work in my left hand, the incorrect side is facing me. So what I'm gonna do with this next pattern is that I'm gonna start knitting on with making loops with this yarn rather than the green yarn that's still attached to it. Now, since the incorrect side is facing me, I'm gonna be using a purl stitch to incorporate the red yarn. So purl stitch is like this. You're gonna take the needle, you're going to insert it into the first loop facing you. So kind of the opposite of what we were doing before. It's gonna go down and under in front. And then what you're gonna do, instead of taking the green yarn and wrapping it around, you're actually going to take the loose end of the red yarn. You can leave about like a foot or so, maybe a little bit less, and you're just going to make it just a simple loop with it, no knot. You're gonna put it around the knitting needle that you inserted into the work, and you're just gonna swoop it down, catch that yarn, and then cast off that green stitch. And you can just pull on the excess yarn on the green to tighten that. And then you're just gonna repeat for the remainder of the stitches. So you're gonna take that knitting needle with the red yarn on it. You're gonna put it down and under on the front side, the side facing you. Grab the end of the yarn that's still attached to the ball, and you're going to loop it around and in the front. And you're gonna take that needle and you're going to catch the red yarn and cast off the green stitch, and you're gonna pull the green stitch still attached to the ball, and you're gonna pull that tight. And you're just gonna repeat that for the remaining stitches. Okay, so now I have casted on a row completely just of the red stitches, and you can see here, this is the right side of the pattern, this is the wrong side now, and you can see here that the reason this is the wrong side is because we have this line of red yarn on the side, which looks a little unsightly. For the green, for the black stitches, you actually want that line to be on the right side because that's how it goes in the original pattern, but of course you can always switch that up. So I still have this bit of red yarn here, which isn't attached to anything, and then I still have the green yarn that's still attached to the ball. So you're gonna go ahead and cut this to about the same length of the red yarn. And then you're just gonna knot these two together. God, I can't do this. Yep, you're just gonna tie them in a simple knot. Not too tight, not too loose. And then you are done with this side of the pattern, and you don't have to worry about these coming out because they're tight. And then you can continue on with the houndstooth pattern. Okay, so here I have the front of my first square, with the pattern facing towards me, and this would be the left hand needle, and I have the red yarn coming off the side, still attached to the ball here. Now I also have my black yarn at the ready, and I'll show you how to do the houndstooth stitch. So, the instructions give you the rows and the columns that you need to follow to do the houndstooth pattern. So you're going to start at the bottom here, and you're going to work your way right to left. And each time that you do another row, it's always going to be right to left, right to left. So to do this first row, we are actually going to start with knits, because this is the front of our work. When you do a knit stitch, the knots are going to be on the back side, and you don't want those showing up in your final work. When you do a purl stitch, which is how I cast it on this red yarn, the knots are going to end up on the side facing you. So it just depends on which side is facing you. If the wrong side is facing you, then you want to do purls. If the right side is facing you, then you want to do knits. First, a red stitch. So we just do the red simple stitch, slide that through, catch the yarn and slide it up. And then it asks for a black one. So we're going to do something similar to with how we cast it on the red yarn. So we're going to take our black yarn here, just have that at the ready. We're going to slide the knitting needle under and behind, and instead of making a loop with the red yarn like this, we're not going to do that. We're actually just going to take the black yarn. We're going to make a simple loop, just no knots or anything, just a simple loop. We're going to put it over that knitting needle, and we're going to slide it down, catch the black yarn, and slide that red stitch off. And then the next one is a red stitch, so we're going to just do the same thing. We're going to grab the red yarn, make a loop, and slide it down. And we're just going to continue with the rest of the pattern. Now, for the houndstooth pattern, make sure that you're always doing the next consecutive stitches with the part of the yarn that's still attached to the ball. You don't want to make any stitches with the loose end of the yarn for really any of the stitches. But for this one in particular, when you're making these stitches that are kind of far apart, like there are 6 red stitches in between these 2 black ones, you don't want to pull on the black yarn too tightly, because you're going to want the piece to expand naturally. You don't want to tie these two too close together, and then you're going to have a really tight houndstooth pattern on top of your wonderful reverse bead stitch pattern. So when you cast on your first row in this houndstooth pattern, it should look something like this. To secure the black yarn into your work, you're just going to want to do a double knot on this loose end here, just to secure it in place so it doesn't slide through and unravel your work. So now that we're on this end, with the wrong side facing us, you're going to want to do purl stitches for the next row. So to do that, we're going to do purl stitches for the entire length of this. You're actually going to start with the knitting needle here. You're going to go down and in front, grabbing that first loop. And since it's a black stitch, you're going to want to grab the long end of the black yarn that's still attached to the ball, bring it up behind, here, let me show you, up behind, back, hold on to that end, and slide the needle through, catching that black yarn and sliding off that red stitch. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to bring it down and forward, turning everything up, and you're going to bring it back, around and forward again, catching that with the needle and slipping off that red stitch. Alright, that's all I got for today. I'm going to be making another video in the next 1 to 2 weeks showing you how to knit the collar, the cups, and everything. So subscribe to see that next video, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I'm going to be leaving a description down below with links to the products that I use, all the different yarns, the needles, and as well as a link to the instructions on how to make the cardigan. See you guys next time.